welcome to STEAM Time. My name is Dayna. I'm the Buena Vista Branch Manager with Monterey County Free Libraries, and today we're talking all about balloon rockets. So stay tuned. I'm going to walk you through what you're going to need and how to get started. So for today's balloon rocket experiment, it only requires a few supplies, many of which you probably have at your home right now. So let me walk you through what you're going to need to get started. So first you're going to need a balloon, a straw. If you only have bendy straws, that's okay. You can cut the bendy top part off. You're just going to want the body of a straw. You're going to want some type of string. It could be anything you have around the house. My son had an old kite, so I just decided to use the string and repurpose it for this experiment. It could be yarn, any type of twine. The thinner the better. It just needs to be able to be threaded through the straw. So you're going to need string and any kind of tape and a pair of scissors. Now with the string, you do want it long enough because we're going to be tying it between two objects. So they recommend between 10 to 15 feet. For the sake of this video, my chairs are going to be closer together, so I'm not going to need that much string, but the longer the string you have, the better your rocket's going to be able to fly across it. So that's all you need to get started. So let's go ahead and talk about the science behind balloon rockets, and then let's get ready to launch. Now that we have all the supplies gathered that we are going to need to actually conduct our balloon rocket experiment, let's just talk briefly about the science behind it. What is actually making the balloon fly across the piece of string? So we have two factors that are at work with this experiment: air and thrust. So the air is coming from us blowing up the balloon. We are filling it with air. And then when that air is released and the balloon starts to shrink, it's going to thrust itself across the string. So those are the two factors, air and thrust. That's what's making the experiment work. But what is exactly the science behind that? Well, it's due to something called Newton's third law of motion. If you haven't heard of it before, that's okay. It's actually relatively simple. So what it states is, for every action, there is an opposite but equal reaction. So for the sake of this experiment, we are blowing up a balloon with air. When that air is released, when we unpinch the end of the balloon and we release the air, that balloon and air is moving in one direction. And then the force that propels the balloon across the string is moving in an opposite direction. So they are equal but opposite forces that are working together to move the balloon across the string. And if that sounds confusing, don't worry at all. It might make a lot more sense once we actually put the experiment into motion. So let's go ahead and let's get launching. Now that we have learned a little bit about Newton's third law of motion as the force behind what makes the balloon experiment work, let's actually get started with making our balloon rocket. So for the sake of today's experiment, I am using two chairs of equal height. Mine aren't as far apart as you probably should have them, just for the sake of this video so you could see it in action. But the farther apart you put them, the farther your balloon is actually going to thrust itself across the string. So to get started, you're going to want to cut your string. Any type of string. I used kite string, and for the sake of time, I have one end tied securely to my chair. Now, for this next step, I can't tell you how many times I have rushed it and went ahead and tied the other end so I would have my string across, and then realized I need to put the straw on. You have to thread your straw through to make the experiment work. So I have one end of my string tied to a chair, and for the next part, you're going to want to take your straw. I just have a purple straw, a plastic straw. Mine is the full-size straw, but I'm going to cut it in half. I have two different pieces. So I have my straw, and you're going to want to thread whatever type of string you have through your straw. Now the straw component itself does not have to be very long. You can make it as long or as short as you would like. So it's gonna look like this. So now my straw is threaded onto my string. And the cool thing about science is this is your opportunity to play around with things. Play around with different lengths of string, types of string, test different lengths of straw to thread through, and see how that changes your balloon's ability to thrust itself across the string. So now that we have it threaded, we're going to take the other end and we're going to tie it to our chair. So let me tie mine. Make sure you are tying it nice and tight. You don't want your string slipping down. If your string is not pulled tight, that is going to impact your balloon's ability to fly across. So mine is sagging in the middle. If that happens, that's okay. You're just gonna pull your chairs out a little bit farther. Okay, so here's my straw. Now, here comes the super fun part. We are going to start assembling our balloon rocket. So for this, you're going to want to get tape. I just have two pieces, any type of tape. I'm going to tape it on top of the straw in the middle. You want it in the middle of the straw. So I just have two pieces. Now here comes the fun part. We're gonna blow up our balloon. And you're gonna wanna stretch it a little bit. Okay, are we ready? Now, another thing to think about when you're doing this experiment is try blowing the balloon up to different sizes and see how that impacts its ability to fly across the string. So let's see, are we ready? Okay, I think we should make it a little bit bigger. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. I'm gonna move my straw up to the top. Make sure this whole time you are pinching the end of the balloon. Do not let the air out yet, okay? Are you ready? This is as simple as the balloon rocket gets. We're gonna launch in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and that's it. That's all it takes to test out Newton's third law of motion with a balloon rocket. And the cool thing about this experiment is you can test it over and over and over again by simply blowing up your balloon, retaping it to your straw, and letting it fly. One thing to think about too is I'm using two chairs of equal height. What would happen to the balloon if you tied it to, let's say, a doorknob and something a little bit shorter, and your balloon was on more of an angle? How would that impact your balloon's ability to thrust across the piece of string? So those are some great questions to think about as you conduct your own experiment with the balloon rocket. So I hope you had fun today learning all about balloon rockets and the science behind what makes them launch. But if you're interested in learning more about these science concepts or science experiments, definitely check out one of our libraries, because we have a lot of books that talk about STEM and STEAM experiments that you can try at home. So definitely check out a lot of the books that we have to offer at our various branches and that can be picked up via our curbside service. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me. And next video, we are going to be taking Newton's third law of motion concept to the next level. We've learned a bit about it by doing balloon rockets, but next we're going to be doing balloon-powered race cars. So we're gonna take what we learned in this video and apply it to next time, where we get to make our own race cars using Newton's third law of motion. I hope to see you guys next time. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.